with us on the SportsMax Zone. We continue to talk cricket because Barbados-born England speedster Jofra Archer has hit back at those who criticized him for breaking strict quarantine protocols to visit his girlfriend at the end of the first test against West Indies in Southampton. Writing in Britain's Daily Mail today, ahead of the third test which starts on Friday at Old Trafford, Archer revealed he suffered mental anguish at the reaction to his mistake. He wrote, "When I walked outside of my room for the first time since being placed into self-isolation for breaking the COVID-19 protocols, I heard the cameras clicking away with every single step I took. The whole spectacle made me feel uneasy. I know what I did was an error of judgment and I have suffered the consequences of that. I haven't committed a crime and I want to start feeling myself again." I spoke briefly to the doctor about how I'm feeling and also to Ben Stokes on Monday night. Ben tried to advise me on how to deal with being in the spotlight of international sport. He vowed to back me and support me. Now, I need to be 100% mentally right so that I can throw myself into my cricket this week. This week has showed me that whatever I do will be a focus of attention. If I sneeze too hard, it's going to be headlines. What do you say? I say to Jofra, welcome to the big league, son.
But that's how it is, George. When you're doing well, people support you, and when you're doing badly, they'll criticize you in the worst of ways. And I felt like, Jofra, being in the sport for so long, he would have known that already. I think he used the word mental, and I think he really needs to work on his mental because he continues to lash back at people. I mean, being in the public eye, you know how people are. When you're doing well, they have the best of things to say. The moment you mess up once, George and Lance, they will criticize at you. Are you going to respond to every single comment that somebody makes? I think he should have known better than that. And he needs to just block it off and move forward. Today he tweeted again, responding to somebody.
Well, Tino Best on the program during last week when he actually started in the test match and wasn't playing well, he responded to the Tino Best tweet that Broad was unfortunate to lose his spot into the team in the England team for that first test. With someone like Archer, they are not looking to play at his best, and Archer responded to him. And to be quite honest, Tino's reaction and the reaction of others was at the time that Jofra Archer should have left that Tino Best comment alone. He was in the middle of a test match and he needs to focus on his job.
Lance.
And all of what he said today about, as if you sneeze, people write about it, as long as you get to the international level of sport, that is where you are, that you've got to expect that. So I found it a little strange that he'd be saying all of those things today when he should have known this a long time ago.
And I just want to say something. When you use social media and you respond to things like that, the moment, you come across as a troublesome person. So like whenever I hear Curious, and I always use him as an example, I feel like he's up to no good and he's just creating mischief. If Archer continues to be coming in the public light, for responding to social media concerns, the time he decides to use social media for something good, people won't take him seriously. And I think that's, just abusing your power. He can use social media for so many better things.
So let me get the both of you straight before I contribute.
Yeah.
Your verdict on his reaction is what? Do you agree with him reacting in the way that he has or not?
I don't.
No, I'm just saying that for him to be making those pronouncements to me are non-statements. They are non-statements because everybody knows that when you are in the spotlight as he is, everyone is going to talk about what you're doing, especially if you make the headlines with things like what happened to him recently. He's talking about social media and so on. Obviously, the racist part of it is a zero tolerance for that.
Definitely.
But Roland Butcher, the Barbados-born former England batsman, called him an idiot for what he did by breaking the biosecure protocols on his way back from the first test. Roland Butcher called him an idiot.
And Mikey Holden, he gave him a tongue lashing as well. He was very disappointed. My thing is stand up for racism, stand up for causes that matter to you. But you can't spend so much time, especially when you have a test series that you're trying to win, spending so much time responding to every and anybody. And I say that based on what he tweeted today.
But here's the thing. So I agree that it was... I don't think he was an idiot for breaking the protocols. I think what he did was idiotic. Different thing.
Yeah.
So I can agree with them, and if they refine the sentiment, and that's what I take it they mean. So I'm not going to quibble over it. But I'm kind of seeing things different from both of you because I like this from Jofra Archer. I don't like him being on social media to respond to every tweet, every post. But it shows me that he cares. It might sound cliched, but let me explain myself. Too often, sportsmen, more than ever, not sportswomen, different maturity often, they carry on with things. But sportsmen have this way, Lance, Mariah, to say, oh, they're saying things about me, I don't care. I don't care. I just carry on, I don't care. Jofra Archer obviously cares. He's obviously stung by the criticism. What Tina said to him was probably the greatest thing to have happened to him in that test where he bowled in an ordinary way in the first innings, and people are saying, Tina boy, why didn't you shut up? You fired him up to bowl well in the second innings and almost did the business for England. I'm saying this is a young man who clearly cares about how people perceive him. He wants to be regarded as a top cricketer in every conversation about him. He wants to have the performances to match what he believes his profile should be, and it is because partly, not exclusively, it is partly because he cares about his game. He cares about the perception that people have of him. He cares about his status as one of the top cricketers in world cricket at this time. He cares about his reputation as one of the most fearsome bowlers in cricket. That's why he's reacting. So guess what needs to happen now? Nobody needs to go to Jofra Archer to say, cut that out. You need to temper it. You need to shape it. You say, okay, Jofra, you need to show you care, not by going on social media and laying in wait of every tweet or post and reacting to them with anger and venting your spleen online. Do that on the field. Let your performances speak. So that's what needs to happen to him now, because too often in a situation like this, someone will chide Jofra Archer, will tick him off and say, young man, this is not how you react. Let the man keep his passion. Let him continue caring, but channel it in the right direction.
Well said, George, and all of what you said just now is true.
Yeah.
There was just a hint of his pronouncements today that almost suggested to me that he was surprised that all of this...
and he shouldn't be.
And he shouldn't be. So let's continue. The International Cricket Council has postponed the Men's T20 World Cup, which we had expected, set for Australia from the 18th of October to November the 15th, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, organisers of the Indian Premier League are waiting on approval to move this year's tournament to the United Arab Emirates from the 26th of September to the 8th of November. Here in the region, the Hero Caribbean Premier League, the CPL, is set for Trinidad and Tobago from the 18th of August to the 10th of September. All matches will be played at the Queen's Park Oval and the Brand Lara Cricket Academy in Tarouba. CPL officials have decided to stick with the COVID-19 protocols as outlined by the Trinidad and Tobago health authorities. Now, it's reported that some team owners and international players were unhappy about the strict protocols designed for visitors to the country. Players travelling to TNT must provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test on arrival. They will then be sent into isolation at the Hilton Hotel for 7 days. Now, after 7 days, they will be tested again, and if negative, will be allowed to join other players in small groups to train for the tournament. After another 7 days, another test will be administered. Once this is negative, the player will then be able to join their teammates ahead of the tournament. Now, George, you recently travelled and were subject to some COVID-19 protocols resembling these that we just spoke of?
Well, basically, yes. The trip, the deplaning, it was a long line, because you can imagine hundreds of people coming off an aircraft and you having to stand to be processed by the nurses, giving all sorts of information. I had a run-in with a member of the Defence Force because I was trying to, I couldn't leave quickly because I was there so long, but I was trying, after a long wait and being processed, trying to go through, and there was another leg of the thing to complete, and he didn't explain properly, and I was getting agitated, and he was wondering, well, why is this man agitated? And I'm saying, just give me good information. But that aside, it was the reason I wasn't put out by it was because you expected coming in that you'd be subject to rigorous checks and everything. So I had to download an app that I had on my phone. So I can say publicly now that I'm in the clear. The first morning after returning and being bound to a narrow geographic area, I was collecting something from someone who didn't know where to find me. So I had to go to collect same, and they were leaving town and had to give it to me on that day. So I just drove down to collect it, and I drove maybe like 800 meters from my stated location that I declared on the form at the airport, and I got an alert you are out of the quarantine zone, kindly get back, blah, blah. And I started panicking, wondering if at any time I'd see men and women in white suits in a van pulling up to my gate, carting me off to government quarantine. Yeah. And so while at home for the 40 days, every day, and the app is smart, so it doesn't set the time. So you can't say, okay, at 7 o'clock they're going to send me. You get an alert that you should go and do a video check-in. So what you do, you go to use the app, go to that section, put in, they ask you, have you experienced any symptoms, yes or no? Click no, you move on. Then they say, put in your temperature, Celsius or Fahrenheit, you input that temperature. And then they say, this is the big part now, you need to submit a video submission that you are fine, and there's a code there for you to do, and there's a code every time. So you'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a 30-second video. You can shoot up to a 30-second video. I let it run for at least 10, and then you submit, and that goes through. And then you can get that request for a video message up to 6 times per day. Once I got it about 7 times, and I wondered, what the hell is wrong with these people? Where do they think I'm going? What am I doing? So it will start sometimes at 7 a.m., sometimes at 8:30, sometimes you get it at 10, then you get it at 11:30, then you get it at 1:30, then you get it at 4 o'clock, then you get it at 7:30, then you get it at 8:45, and yeah, so that's how stringent it is.
Lance.
Yes.
Do you remember when we opened the show yesterday? What did he say? He had special quarantine. This is special, George.
Yes,
this is what you considered.
But because guess what? Guess why it's special? Maybe, well, perhaps it is that other people, it is not so important for their well-being to be looked after. You know, it was key for me to submit several video messages to show and prove that George Davis, the national treasure, is in good form.
Lance, let's move along. I'll produce this part.
You will. Our Cricket West Indies Chief Executive Johnny Grave has confirmed that talks are ongoing to have South Africa undertake a mini tour of the Caribbean in September. Speaking on the Mason and Guest show on Voice of Barbados Radio on Tuesday evening, Grave said the tour would likely be staged after the CPL final on the 10th of September.
3 calls in the last 7 days with our counterparts at Cricket South Africa. The plan as we are working on now is that the players will come home a week Wednesday. They will have the weekend at home. Those that are in the Caribbean Premier League will head down to Trinidad on probably the 3rd of August. So very quick turnaround. The CPL will then start in mid-August and go through to the 10th of September. And we hope very much that then South Africa will follow immediately after that. Whether we can get the full tour in or whether we're going to have to look at a split tour between the Tests and the T20s, we don't know. We obviously hear and read that India are trying to get the IPL towards the back end of September. Either in India, which I know is their preferred choice, or the UAE is a backup choice. But there's been no announcement on that yet. So we very much hope that South Africa will be able to come here in September for either a T20 only tour or a Test only tour at the very least. And it will be dependent on the IPL. South Africa have a number of their Test players who have IPL contracts, whereas this current Test team, we don't have any IPL players in. So, look, we won't be able to play Test cricket against South Africa during the IPL. Cricket South Africa have made that very clear to us, that they've got a commitment to their players to allow them to go and play in the IPL. So, look, at this stage, we hope that that's the case, but I can't confirm at this stage, with no flights between South Africa and the UK, which is the obvious route for them to travel. At the moment, it's not something that South Africa have been able to confirm to us, but we're talking to them regularly and we hope for good news soon.
Okay, so Johnny Grave is confirming that the discussions are on. They haven't signed off on anything yet, but because of the protocols involved with the COVID-19, I guess the region is getting more adept, as George just explained about the experience he went through, more adept at functioning with these issues surrounding us.
I think it's all fine and well that, we all want to see live sport coming back. Of course, South Africa, one of the countries leading, it's actually number 5 when it comes to leading COVID-19 number of cases. There are 5,000 plus deaths. But I'm pretty sure if they decide to go off with the cricket matches, of course, they would have consulted all the medical personnel and gotten the all clear to do so. My biggest concern, though, is women's cricket. And earlier this year, May, there was supposed to be West Indies women, they were supposed to tour South Africa, or South Africa was supposed to come to the Caribbean actually, to Trinidad and Jamaica to be exact. So I hope the same way Cricket West Indies is considering the men and putting things in place for the men to play cricket, I hope they are also having discussions surrounding women's cricket, because I don't want those girls to get rusty.
Quite so.
Yeah. Well, the fact is that I think the women's tour was actually called off already.
Yeah.
So I guess we'd have to look for another series for the women to be involved in. We have a lot more to come on the SportsMax Zone, including our NBA segment. We'll be back after this.